What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets here, live on our FTN YouTube page, FTN Fantasy. You see my guy GriffDoggDFS in the house with us. Unfortunately, we went to do this draft and join it at the same time, get in on the same draft. And usually, you jump in, you're waiting, you got a spot or two. And it just brought me in. So unfortunately, we couldn't get in together, but we're going to draft together. And I'm in the 4 spot and I'm on the clock. And I'll let you do the honors here, Griff.
Yeah, I think it's pasta. Yeah, we're looking for shooters, first line guy, first power play guy. As much as Cooch is a great player, he kind of had, I don't want to say his peak season, but if that, that's the ceiling almost for him. So I like pasta there.
All right. So, yeah, we're taking shooters. If you guys are unfamiliar here with the best ball format over at Underdog Fantasy, promo code FTN, they'll match your first deposit. New users up to $1,000 as well. And in this format, as Griff did allude to, shooters, you're going to get extra points for goals here. You're going to get some points for hits, some blocks, and power play points. And we'll roll through the strategy and we'll talk throughout the builds and our thought process here of going through this thing. But 16 rounds, there's going to be 10 bench spots. I do believe you're going to have every week your top center, your two wingers, flex, defense, and goalie. And we'll talk through our build here. But again, I've really, you and I have been drafting together over the past, not even knowing and chatting. Just we found ourselves in this, not only in the same rooms, but like side by side in multiple drafts.
I think we had 3 straight, like last week, where we were just, and the worst part about it is we were right next to each other, drafting back to back. So I can't tell you how many times you sniped me, and I was just swearing to myself on the couch, like, I'm glad I like this guy because he's taking every pick that I like.
Oh man, right back at you, brother. Right back at you for sure. You were taking a few of the snipes. So, do you have a favorite spot you've been drafting? Do you have a preference? I mean, everyone wants McDavid, but do you have a preference of where you want to be? If you could have your choice, where would you pick?
Yeah, I'd go 2, preferably, because I'm cool with McDavid or McKinnon. Now Matthews at 3, I'm really really okay with that as well. But just getting one of those 2 top guys is it's just they're difference makers. They're better than everybody else in the league. They shoot the puck, especially McKinnon, and they bring those power play points. And if Edmonton can kind of bring that 32% power play back this year, it wasn't bad last year, but it was in the mid 20s. That can be essential on Underdog here as well. So I like the 1 or 2 spot, getting one of those guys. But where Leon Draisaitl has been falling, I've gotten him at 9 a few times as well. Been very happy with that.
Yeah, no kidding. I took him in the live draft. I think we did yesterday. I believe it was in the 8 spot for Leon Draisaitl. So again, this draft will be a little bit different than maybe your buddies in your Yahoo League or ESPN League. Wingers are pushed up here. I think we saw maybe 5 just in the first 2 rounds yesterday when we previewed here. And so far we have the 5 in the first with Jack Hughes there to round out the second, or the last pick in the first. And so we're coming up here. We're still thinking winger. What's your thought process here?
Yeah, I love getting Gensel in this second round here. But really, in my opinion, I mean, the Panarin should be fine, but apparently got injured the other day. Preseason has just been wild to start so far. I like Reinhardt. I like Kyle Connor. Again, just kind of targeting those shooters. If I get Matthews at 3, I don't mind Marner here, but if that's not the case, I kind of stay away from that.
How much do you stack? We had this conversation in our Discord talking about not forcing it. I said yesterday, it kind of does split ties with me sometimes. If there's a line mate there and the first power play there, I may consider him, even if he's a little bit below another guy in my rankings. How do you treat stacking?
Yeah, if they're floating like within 5, 6 picks here, then I'm definitely okay with that. But like you said, I'm not going out of my way and reaching. And actually, the research that was done kind of on that, albeit a smaller sample size because Best Puck is relatively new. DJ, the Sabres guy that we follow on Twitter as well. Him and his buddy kind of did some data scraping from this, and stacking just wasn't super important. Now, with that being said, there's obviously a lot of benefits to just like DFS too, whereas, more times than not, if you're scoring a goal, somebody is assisting on that. And if you get the power play bonus, even better. So that's kind of my thinking behind it is if they're a round or two ahead, probably not going to reach that far. Maybe like I would in a football stack.
Yeah, it is a little bit different that way with football, where you want to try to maximize your upside. I think having like a player or two on a top power play is okay. You're going to get some spike weeks there. There's no question. So we're coming up here again. The top goalies, what we've normally seen here. So we are on the clock. The top goalies are gone, and Hellebuck, Shesterkin, and Saros. That's couple top defensemen here, Makar, Yossi, and Bouchard. Where's your head at here? You're going to continue with wingers, continue to shoot with Timo, Kempe?
So I love Rasmus Dahlin, and I've been taking him a lot in the third. If we look at just his past couple of seasons, if you click on him, 750 plus points in both of those. So I were close to. So I really like that. Another power play guy, big minutes, and he isn't afraid to block or hit. So this is a guy that's going to get you points in every aspect, essentially, that Underdog has to offer.
I think there's like a drop off for me. I'm in on Dahlin. We rolled the dice there with Dahlin. I don't have much Quinn Hughes. Dobson was a beast last year. You can get him a lot later than this point. Him and Hedman, I've been getting a lot of shares of like those two, along with what we just did with Dahlin. I really like Makar and I really like Yossi. It just hasn't lined up. Believe it or not, I've been at the top of drafts, a majority of my drafts, and Yossi doesn't get to me. If I'm back in the back end of the first, Makar is interesting, but I'm tend to hammer winger. I have a little bit of Bouchard with McDavid, just the way that he's fallen that way. I'm like, fine. I'll just grab Bouchard there and go another way. But I feel like getting a horse, like a top 5, top 10 defenseman, goes a long way.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you just kind of hit the nail on the head there as well, is that a lot of guys, you're kind of looking for your one stud, right? And then you're trying to find that value later on in the draft, in my opinion, when it comes to the defenseman position. Now, if you can go back to back with a Hedman and Weegar, I like that as well. But Dobson and Bouchard, we were drafting those guys 10, 11, 12th round last year, if I'm not mistaken. And those were money makers. So unfortunately, they're, way further up this year, but hopefully we can find some guys that are falling later on as well.
Yeah, we'll seek a couple of those guys out. I remember DJ, you mentioned him earlier. He joined me last year, and I don't know if we had a divide on Bouchard, but I was like, dude, man, like he could get 80 points. He could be a point per game player, and we're getting him well outside the top 10, top 15 at the defense position here. So Roken goes. I'm really fascinated to have a conversation with you about goalies here throughout. So we're starting to see some of them come off the board here. As I mentioned, Hellebuck, Shesterkin, and Saros at the end of the second, then Ottinger, Vasilevsky, and Sorokin goes here. We're up in a couple more picks. When are you comfortable taking a goalie, and who are some of the ones that you have some shares of?
So I recall in previous drafts, goalies not going quite as early as they have this year. Now, the studs do tend to go pretty early, but even kind of the mid-pack guys, they're going a lot earlier than I would like in this best draft. So I've kind of just swallowed my pride a little bit and said, hey, if there's a guy here, barring there isn't some outlier like a Carter Verhaeghe who's too far down, who's projecting super well this year again, then I will go up and grab a goaltender. But as you can see already, we're looking at basically four guys that I would feel comfortable with. I mean, Linus Ullmark is great, but what are we going to get out of Ottawa? Demko, we don't know his time.
Yeah, I've crossed him off my list.
Yeah, we don't know when he's going to return. Binnington's a head case, but he can have kind of those boom bust games. So I kind of like I said, swallowed my pride a little bit here and have taken him a little earlier than I anticipated starting the season.
So, like, would you take Georgiev now, Skinner now, Markstrom
so
now?
Where are they waiting? Yeah, if we look at the full board, what are we getting here? So, because I love Carter Verhaeghe right now, or just the draft board, the players available.
Oh yeah, I got Verhaeghe queued up, ready to go. Like Verhaeghe.
Yeah, so Verhaeghe would be my pick. Yes, Verhaeghe would be my pick here.
So I get into the same, you and I are in the same thought process. I can't really pull the trigger in this round with these tier. Like I'm fine with Shesterkin and Saros. I have a little bit of Ottinger and Vasilevsky. I've been bypassing Sorokin. I don't know, man. I think he's super talented. Am I overthinking this? Like, is Patrick Waugh going to play Varlamov more than I think that he should? Because we saw that towards the end of last season, and it kind of bothered me.
It's funny because I tuned in for a little bit yesterday when you guys were doing the live draft, and that conversation came up. And I think it was mentioned that Patrick Wall just loves Varlamov. So going back all the way to the Colorado days, I don't know what it is. I don't know if they have a secret drinking relationship or whatever. But I am on. I do tend to think that Sorokin is super talented.
He's awesome. There's no comparing the
Yeah.
two. He's a top 3 talent in the game, I think.
But will Varlamov play 25, 30 games this year?
He
Yeah,
may play that.
probably.
So we're up here again. I do have some Markstrom, but steer me in another direction if you don't want to go that way. We're looking at winger here. We have some good options in Svechnikov, Tippett, Seth Jarvis, some shooters there that I like. Top centers. I mean, centers deep, but we have Tage Thompson sitting there as well. Going Markstrom here, or are you going another way?
I'm cool. I'm absolutely cool with that. I mean, that is what
Yeah,
New Jersey has been missing for the last couple of seasons, right? It's the goalie. We thought Markstrom was probably going to get traded there at the deadline last year. Didn't really work out. Calgary was dumping a bunch of players, but they get him here to start the season, and not a top 5 goaltender in the NHL, but New Jersey should win some games this year. That Metro doesn't look super strong. I don't know.
No,
It's tough to
it
tell.
doesn't. Yeah, it really doesn't. I think there's some teams there that's taking some step backs. Like I don't know, Carolina again. Like they're
Carolina.
Carolina offensively, right? Just
Oh, I was looking at their bottom 9 today. I was like, "Ew,
it's
this is."
ugly, right? I mean, Tebow
Yeah,
leaves. They aren't able to retain Gensel. So, I mean, they're another Sveshnikov injury away from being like another one-line team in Carolina. So we did go with Markstrom. Swayman goes right after. Do you have any shares of Swayman? I have some shares of Swayman about a month ago. I've been hesitant to draft him recently. I'm pretty shocked with what Cam Neely said the other day, and 64
yeah,
million reasons, and then the agent comes out. That's news to us in terms of the contract. This could get ugly, or it could, the first week they could realize that Korpisalo is not the answer, and then just give in to Swayman. But this could prolong for a month or so, man. Like, what's your thoughts on Swayman? Just cross these guys off your list, because I cross Demko off my list. I don't like.
yep.
Timetable stuff. I'm just not taking him that early. Some of these injury players just don't get involved with.
Yeah, I'm with you there on the Demko stuff, the injury, especially when we're not given a timetable for return. That's very sketchy. If we get a day to day, week to week, hey, they're going to be back by end of November. I'm still okay drafting top tier people, but with Swayman, man, yeah, I don't recall this type of drama on a contract being this public in a while, and especially at the goalie position. But hey, I mean, he wants to get paid, and the Sweeney thing was very interesting. I wouldn't take that very lightly if I were Swayman. He's asking for 8x8.
Yeah.
Pay the guy.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's got all the leverage too with them trading Allmark before they even signed him.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So our team looks like Pasternak, Gensel, Verhaeghe. We got Dahlin. We have Markstrom. We're covering some bases here. So we're coming up in a couple picks. Top wingers, Slavkovsky, DeBrincat, Marchessault, Brock Besser, Alex Tuck, Raymond. Back into defense, Fox and Hedman. Uyghur still hanging out there. We just got our goal. We don't think we need to do it again. Top centers, Aho, Eriksson Ek, Dylan Larkin, Barkov, White, Johnson. I like Trocheck more than Zibanejad, but I noticed Zibanejad goes ahead of him. Again, just know your settings, know your scoring system. There's like 100 more points there from Trocheck, offering more, throwing the body around, shooting the puck a little bit more, blocking some shots.
Oh, that line was just better all last year with him, Lafreniere, and Panarin. I love Wyatt Johnson. I think he's a great play there. Getting him, he should be drafted earlier, in my opinion.
Do you want to get him now, or we can probably wait?
No. I think we could get him when we come around for sure. Another winger here, or if you like Hedman, if Hedman is still on the board, I mean, we kind of get the little stack there with Gensel as well, and I don't mind that at all.
I actually don't mind it either. most of my shares with Hedman is like he's my top defenseman, so this will be a different vibe to have, two. I still think Hedman has top 5 upside, man, at the position, because there's no question now that he's going to be on that first unit all the time. The power play may not be as deadly without Stamkos, but it still should be pretty rock solid. And there was
Yeah,
times, right, with
Gensel
him
in the
and
bumper.
Sergachev, right? There was like Sergachev's on the first unit. Sometimes it's Hedman. I know he's a little bit older, but I feel like both of those guys are winners.
Yeah.
Sergachev leaves, he gets to be a stud in Utah. Hopefully, like the injuries hold up for him and he's fine. But he should be. I mean, Daily Faceoff, I think, has Jersey on the top unit. This is not going to happen, man. Like Sergachev's going to run that power play, and Hedman should run Tampa's.
I think they changed it to like today or yesterday. Actually, I think Sergachev's now on the top unit,
Nice.
so it was at the Jersey, like you said. But the reason I'm okay going double defenseman there is because now we really don't have to worry about a defenseman probably until our last pick, honestly.
Yeah.
And we're looking at a high upside pick like Lane Hudson or something like that, right? Where you're like, okay, Matheson probably starting on the number 1 power play, but you're an injury away from a kid who could legitimately have 50 points this season. He's that offensively gifted. So yeah, I'm happy with the start here so far. Center and winger, I think, are kind of the priority though at this point right now.
I feel like even on the way back, there may be one of Trocheck, Wyatt, Nico, Heischer, or do you feel like you want to roll with center
What do the
now?
wings look like?
Yeah, they're not super sexy.
Yeah, see, I'm
Lafreniere, yeah.
not really in love with that either.
Let's do a
So
center.
I am okay with any one of those top 5 centers, to be honest with you. But I love Wyatt Johnson. I
It's a
think
Wyatt Johnson show. We're doing it.
Yeah, him playing up on that first line. It looks like to start with Hintz and Robertson. Like we're talking, this kid could have 90 points this year.
There's really no reason not to play him up there. Like, no disrespect to Ben and Stan Coven or anything, but you want to. He's legit and he's ready to be a number 1 center. I mean, the kid's been one of the better players in the playoffs over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for him up with some of those big boys, and I agree with you. He goes a little bit late, but again, centers are pushed back a bit. But all these guys, like I would have been fine with Aho. I would have been fine with Eriksson Ek.
I love Eriksson Ek.
In
Another
terms of
guy who will
so
get you
many
points,
categories.
blocking shots, shooting the puck, power play, everything. We could have gone with Barkov there and kind of looked for the Verhaeghe stack as well, but he might even be there on the turnaround when we come back. Like I said, Trocheck, I prefer him over Zibanejad as well. And Zibanejad's not a bad pick by any means. I mean,
No,
796 and 652 is still really good.
Yeah.
Especially this late.
Nico sure seems to miss a bit of time here and there. It's 725, 574 last year. Interesting, the Devils. I know they've been so underwhelming over the past couple of years with high expectations.
Yeah, and I think I mean I know Hughes 2 years ago kind of took the hey, I'm the guy here, but I think at this point in his NHL career, like you're starting Jack Hughes, I think, every game, not where Nico has notoriously kind of started the game. So he's kind of, in my opinion, should be taking a step back as the second line center, playing that shutdown role, which he's very, very good at doing. But with that being said, still enough offensive upside there to take a little later. This is a little early in my opinion, but
no, I agree with you.
Pick.
Want to say what up here, doing the hard work for the people here. We have PO to Jen in here. Like, comment, subscribe, you filthy animals. Yes, says no death row t-shirt for you, giving you some love there. We do appreciate this comment. Just kills me. Love it. Block shots and bong rip. Season continues, baby, from the Garden City, Colorado. Let's go. Welcome in,
Colorado.
We are doing a live draft here at Underdog Fantasy, best ball draft. We got 16 rounds here. I think it's 25K to first. It was roughly 60% filled yesterday, I think, when we were doing the show, or the day before. So still got time to get in there, get some lineups in, and we're coming up here in round 8. We have Wyatt Johnson at the center position, David Pasternak, Jake Gensel, Carter Verhaeghe. We got shooters on the wing, Rasmus Dahlin, Victor Hedman. We have, I think, 2 top 10 defensemen there. And then Jacob Markstrom is in net. Mike Matheson, Zibanejad, Heiskanen, and Larkin, the last few picks. So top wingers, we have Vetrano, Lafreniere, Marchand, Batherson, Natchez, your boy Brian Rust. We have Vincent Trocheck still there. Nico, we just touched on. Tavares won't do it. Suzuki, Kadri, Horvat, we're good on D, but just showing you guys the board. Morgan Riley, we have Werenski, Eric Carlson there, and McAvoy, Matambo, Jari, the top goalies there. What are you thinking?
Yeah, kind of like a winger here. You know, and especially considering last round we were looking at the wingers going, don't love it, and basically all those guys are still essentially there. So we made the right call. I haven't probably taken enough Lafreniere, to be honest with you. I do like Marchand at this spot. You're talking about another guy who's going to throw his body around a little bit. Been a little higher on Natchez than most, probably just because of what we talked about earlier. Is, you know, Gensel gone, weren't able to re-sign Teuvo Teravainen. Someone's going to need to step up. So I am really okay with any one of those guys. Who do you like best?
I have a lot of Lafreniere too. I'm cool to mix it up. I have a ton of shares of him, and I don't have a lot of Marchand. I see what you're saying there. I just another year older. I'm down with Natchez. Like Natchez and Batherson's kind of sneaky underrated a little bit as well, but we just talked about Carolina. There's an opportunity there for Natchez. I actually don't have a ton of shares of him. I have a little bit more of Seth Jarvis, man. What a player. I know you talk a lot about him in the Discord as well. He's sneaky good, man. He shoots and kind of throws his body around for a smaller player. So we go with Martin Natchez here. He is a gamer, and we'll probably still have up in 4 picks. I mean, we can go Marchand there again if we wanted to. I have probably way too much JJ Peterka and Dylan Gunther. Do you like those guys too, or am I
love
on
JJ
an island
Peterka
here or what?
No, Peterka, he showed signs of being truly really good last year, and they got him starting on that first line right now with Tuck and Thompson and the #1 power play. I think the sky is the limit for this kid. 28 tucks last year. I think he could be pushing 35 this year.
Me too. And, he essentially did all of his damage in the second half. I mean, It wasn't until the second half where he was promoted and, a big player in the shot prop game, DFS stuff, certainly looked the part too up at the top line, and they moved on from Jeff Skinner there. Would you take him over Marchand, or you feel strong about Marchand here?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I like Peterka here. I do. With Marchand right now, you look, we are getting a little bit of, double up on Boston. So the reason I like that is because if Boston happens to go on a run, and that's usually what it takes is if you get a team that goes on a 9-game win streak and they're just pumping in goals towards the end of the season, it's likely that these two guys are heavily involved in that. It's probably the power plays role and things like that. So, I like this start here.
How much are you diversifying shares? Like, just like, I can't take this guy again. I got to try to do something else. Or are you more like, hey, I fully believe I buy this player, I'm taking him.
I probably, my heart tends to follow sometimes too much on the hockey side of things. But with that being said, when I'm drafting here, I tend not to look too much of, oh, well, I did this, I can't do this. If there's a player that I love and I think he's got a high ceiling, then I'm taking him. And that's really what we're looking for here in these best drafts, right? Is maybe not somebody who's gonna have the most consistent performance day in and day out, but those ceiling guys who can just go on a tear for a week or two and really win you big money. So that's, you want some consistency. I think we got a great balanced lineup there, but then you're also looking for some guys who go, okay, maybe he does, stay on the third line all year, or he has the potential of putting up, 60, 70 points, getting promoted to the first, second line in the power play.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, we have dudes that could fill the net here. With some shooters in Pasta, Gensel, and Verhaeghe, even Natchez. Marchand still has something to offer, some nice moments there. Horses on the blue line, and we both like Wyatt Johnson, so we're in on Wyatt Johnson there. So we're coming up here at 9 picks. Take a look at the center position again: Tavares, Kadri, Bo Horvat, Rupe Hintz, Robert Thomas, We have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. It's been a long day. Nuge, Elias Lindholm in Boston. Over the wingers, Jared McCann, Jeff Skinner, Buchnevich, Quentin Byfield looks like he's going to be in the middle of the ice where he used to play some of his junior hockey there. Ehlers, Jake DeBrusk, Cutter Gauthier, Tyler Toffoli. We're going to wait a little bit more on defense here. Sergachev at D21. I'm telling you, man, like I just think that's a steal.
I mean, there's a stretch of 3 guys there. Carlson, Brock Faber, and Sergachev, in my opinion, are great picks.
Yeah. Even, I don't even hate Montour. He was not going to get back to the season 2 years ago. I wonder how they're going to operate. I feel like he should be on that first power play over Vince Dunn, but
Agreed.
We'll see what happens there. But yeah, that grouping, even Sanderson should be ready for a breakout season. Shabbat can't stay healthy. I think he got hurt again last night. What a bloodbath the preseason is.
Yeah, especially Ottawa. My God.
Oh my goodness, Ottawa. And then Chikrin's gone. So, okay. So what are you thinking here? Do we get back into goalies? Oh man, this is when you don't attack them, you can get into a rough spot.
And that's Wolf, that's why I'm happy that we took someone a little earlier, right? And that's kind of what it gets into here. Is last year I don't recall it being this gross when we're in the 10th, 11th round here, and I remember being able to take some solid plays. Now, with that being said, guys like Logan Thompson and stuff, I think, do have some solid upside. Peter Mrazek, another guy who can kind of just go on stretches of great goaltending. He's going to see 30 plus shots a game again this year. So I don't mind both of those guys, but
we could probably wait a little bit more.
Yeah, I think a center here or another winger would be ideal. What are we looking at for these two?
We got Horvat. We're on the clock here. So Horvat, Hintz, Robert Thomas. And then at winger, we have Skinner, Byfield, Ehlers, DeBrusk, Toffoli.
Ehlers. Yeah. I like both of those.
Let's get some Skinner in our life, right? I mean, this is another shooter.
Yeah. And look, I mean, if we look at it, we're talking about a guy who's playing with arguably the top 2 best centers in the world. So pick your poison. Who's he playing with? Draisaitl or McDavid? Cool. It doesn't matter. So this is a guy who could legitimately pump in 25, 30 goals this year playing with those guys. He has
easily. Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, not breaking news like the Oilers. I haven't liked them as much as I do this year compared to years past. Skinner showed me something in the playoffs, and particularly in the finals. I know he's going to go through some highs and some lows, but he showed me something like, okay, he's good enough to seal them some games and keep them in some games with those 2 studs that they have. And then watching him in the playoffs, Holloway on the top line, they ran out of depth when Kane went down. There was just nothing there. So if Skinner and Arvidsson can stay healthy, it's all about just getting to the playoffs with that squad. Those 2 could be the difference maker. You're adding them inside the top 6. That may have been enough to beat the Panthers last year.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. And they probably do need to make a move for a defenseman. Their bottom 4 is still very shaky. But man, their top 9, even with Henrique entering that third line, is very, very scary. So I'm on board with both Arvidsson and Skinner, but prefer Skinner. I'm not a guy who tends to draft going, oh, this guy's been injured too much, but Arvidsson's kind of been the outlier of, man, this guy gets hurt all the time.
All right, center pool, right? Hintz, Nuge, Lindholm. Again,
so the Lindholm stack with Pasta would be nice here, but I love Mark Scheifele as well. That's another guy who's probably going to get 650 points, but I'd be okay taking Lindholm here, and we're just kind of riding Boston a little heavy here on this particular build.
After we said stacks don't matter, it's kind of what we're doing. Lindholm should bounce back, right? He's not that bad. He's not as good as that season he had in Calgary where they were just lighting the world on fire with Johnny Hockey, RIP, and also Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah,
but he didn't fit in Vancouver. He didn't fit in there at all. So whether I think he's going to be with Pasta. I think he's going to be on the top power play. And I think he's going to play with Pasta on that first line. I mean, there's no reason to move Pasta to play with Charlie Coyle. They put Zaka back in the middle of the ice. Maybe they can put, him on the second line. But they brought him in. They paid him to be their number 1 center. So I don't have any Lindholm shares.
50 assists. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And then you're talking that number 1 power play, which should be probably a top 10 power play in the league this year. So I like that. But to your point, yeah, I mean, he's not going to probably be the shooters that we're looking for, but we got a lot of those on the squad right now. So
Yeah, we do. So we have Wyatt Johnson and Lindholm at center. We have Pasta, Gensel, Verhage, Natchez, Marchand, and Jeff Skinner. We have Darlene and Hedman, and then we have Jacob Markstrom here in net. So there's still some guys out there. Maybe when we get going here in 10 picks, like we can think of a Mrazek, a Logan Thompson. Like Charlie Ingram's really good for them last year, but Thompson's got a higher ceiling. No, like as long
agreed.
as he stays healthy, he could really win that job.
And Lingram, again, he's just a little too streaky to be a true number one NHL goaltender, in my opinion. But he had some great ceiling games, and again, that's kind of what you're looking for when you're drafting your second, third goalie. That's why I love Mrazek. But Logan Thompson should be the guy. I like Lucas Dostal as well for Anaheim. I think Anaheim's a team that could be, I don't want to say sneaky good, but man, their top nine. I like it. I mean, you got Vetrano and Strome on the third line right now. That's solid.
It is. I don't know if you caught the first preseason game from Cutter. He had 12 shots on net.
Yeah, 12 shots. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Shot props, man. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Just like it's not going to take long to get him up to 3.5 and minus 180 or something silly like that. But I think he may open up the season at like a 2.5 guy.
Yeah, probably plus money as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so 5 picks away. Do we want to take a goalie here in Mrazek and Thompson, or do we want to wait a little bit more for Lucas? Top centers are, you still have Nuge and Scheifele and Rope Hintz there. Brock Nelson, we're getting into a different tier. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a goalie, getting our second guy here. We're good on wingers, in my opinion. We can probably, take our last 2 rounds can probably be a, high risk, high reward winger and defenseman. If we can lock in another goalie. Look, I like Freddie Anderson too, but I think Kochetkov could truly be the one this year.
It's his year.
So yeah, so that's why I tend to lean Mrazek a little bit more here, and then I go Thompson, just because Mrazek's the guy, right? And honestly, I know Chicago's not going to make the playoffs this year, but they're going to be better. They got Bertuzzi, you bring in Teravainen, you bring in Martinez. Like, this is going to be a better hockey team, no doubt.
They brought in, NHL players, and you hope that Taylor Hall can stay healthy too, right? He's another guy that can just help them out a little bit. The blue line does seem, even Brody's there. Like, say what you want about Brody Martinez. It's a massive upgrade in what they had in, their bottom 4 last year. And Mrazek, and he had 566 points, man, in this format.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, he's gonna have hot streaks and games where he just has like 45 saves and they squeaked out a victory. And even if they didn't squeak out a victory, he's doing enough there for you. Yeah,
that can win you. That can put you in the final tournament that you're looking for. I remember last year when we were playing, I think I had 3 entries in the final tournament. Some of the guys that were leading squads going, this is why best ball is because it's off the board kind of plays like Mrazek here late in the game where you're going, okay, yeah, he did have 40 saves in this game. And again, to your point, you could even lose and get you 20, points in this best ball format. So high risk, high reward. That's really what we're going for at this point.
So we have a couple picks left. 4 here left. We'll need another defenseman. We'll need another center. And you thinking another winger, or are you thinking a third goalie?
Scheifele's gone. So look, if Thompson is there, I'd be 100% okay taking our third goalie at that time. Otherwise, probably looking to come. I don't know. What are you thinking here? This is where things start to get, this is where you do reach a little bit, right?
It is. You take your guys, you take shots. I'm comfortable waiting a little bit longer at defense. For
I
center,
like Fabian Zetterlund at winger too.
Buddy, his ADP is probably jumped 30 spots because of us. Then, because I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I don't even care. I think I did it with EY. I just wanted to make a point where I'm drafting this guy. And I
like the Sharks upside going forward, man. Celebrini, Will Smith, you bring in Tyler Toffoli, Zetterlund's going to take another step. Now their defense, that's where they're going to need some work, but I like them.
You want to do it, or you want to take Thompson? I think we should
I think
probably.
take it. I think
Yeah,
Thompson here is the
I
right
think we
move,
have to.
probably.
Yeah, I think we have an. We think we're set at winger. We're still going to get another player, but anyone watching and listening, we I mean, I don't want to speak for you. You said you like him, but I mean, he touches a lot of categories too. And you saw the breakout in the second half, the minutes, the ice time. And I'm with you. You're talking about Anaheim, like Cutter and Leo Carlson. We'll see about McTavish, and there's questions certainly around Terry and Zegras. But like the Ducks, dude, are set up like Toffoli scores wherever he plays, no matter
Yep.
how older he's getting. Granlund was extremely valuable and he's a super smart hockey player. And then you add in Celebrini and Will Smith. And then also you have Fabian Zetterlund, who touches a lot of categories for you. And like Logan Couture, if he can stay healthy, like they may be super fun this year. Like
Yeah.
last year, I just bet against them all the time on the puck line. This year, I may just like take them as dogs here and there with
Take the
Askarov. Who
over.
knows? Take the over in a lot of their games because there could be a lot. Same there, the Ducks. I mean, it's like
Yep.
a lot of scoring there. And I know I said it to you in the Discord, but I feel like Fabian went right after us. I feel like there's some value there to be had with those quote unquote brutal teams.
Yep, I agree. And the thing is towards the end of the season as well, you're looking at these playoff teams that are pushing, right? They tend to play playoff style hockey. You don't really get that out of teams like Anaheim and San Jose in the last month there. They're still that could be different this year because they should be better. San Jose probably not as much, but could Anaheim be creeping on the door of a wild card? I wouldn't be shocked. Maybe we get John Gibson and Dostal to play out of their minds this year. Those are two decent goaltenders. Gibson was, great for a handful of years. So I kind of like the free-spirited teams that have nothing to play for towards the end of the year too, because they're like, hey, well, you know what? I'm playing to get a new contract or playing to do this or do that.
And they just may get better and more comfortable, especially those kids, right? The Ducks are fascinating because I just wonder about the future with Zegras and kind of what they're doing there. But they do have certainly some talent inside their top six. Okay, so we're coming up here again. I like that we went Thompson. I think the build is just better with the three goalies here. And we have some wingers already set. So we're gonna need another center. We got Brock Nelson, Hurdle, Celebrini, Dylan Cousins, your boy Malkin, got Fantilli there, Logan Cooley. Even like I've been sometimes waiting for O'Reilly, and Kopitar gets no respect. I've taken him as like my last pick, sometimes like 558, like things like that with my last pick. Wingers, yeah, we're good. Defensemen, Nurse, Forsling, Chikrin, Letang. Theodore, I always find is just a better real life player than a fantasy player. What are you thinking?
Yeah. So for we can kind of just take who we want to at this point. Center wise, I probably haven't taken enough Hurdle. I'm not in love with Vegas overall.
Me neither.
I kind of do like Dylan Cousins, to be honest with you.
Bounce back for Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at 2 years ago, if you kind of just see what the season he had there, it was 6'11", 31 goals, 37 assists. This is a guy who should have close to 100 hits again this year. I think he's kind of going to play that game.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay with what are you liking in these rounds? Because again, we're spot picking here, right? We're looking for high upside. That, hey, to your point, could Cousins bounce back? Could Cooley be the guy? Could Fantilli be the guy?
I do have a little bit of Cooley. He's not really gonna 45 hits is a little bit more than I thought he had. He's not a big shooter. I am excited about him and Dylan Gunther and Fantilli. Fantilli's one of those guys that really could break out. I mean, given the situation in Columbus, they're really hurting up front. It's not going to be a powerhouse squad, but I think there's probably more upside in Dylan Cousins. Like, can Fantilli even have a season like this, 18, 29? I think he could flirt with that, but I don't know if he can have a season like we've already seen, 31 and 37.
Yeah, agreed. And if I'm not mistaken, Cousins started pretty slow last year and then kind of turned it up towards the end of the season.
The whole team did, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like they had some injuries and some of them regressed a little bit, but he did have a little bit of a better second half. We rolled with him. We got him on the squad here. I dig it. I'm fine with that. It's like, I think it's more than I'm with you on Vegas. They're one injury up front from being like a team that just wins 1-0 hockey games.
Yeah, Jack Eichel. They're one Eichel injury away from going, oh, this team, interesting. I mean, Colorado too, man. Like, looking at their bottom 9 today, they need Landeskog and Nichushkin to come back so badly.
Big time. Yeah, Vegas just didn't replace Stevenson or Marchessault. They just didn't.
Mm-mm.
Like Victor Olofsson's play. Eichel's been playing with Olofsson and Barbashev all year. What? Like I'm sure
was
like
scratched at times last year.
He was. So yeah, it's rough go. Do we take the who do you like for the third defenseman? Letang, man, going super late. You mentioned Hudson earlier. Actually, I haven't taken any Hudson. I'm still big on Matheson, but I see the ceiling.
I like Matheson as well. Oh boy. I would probably homer this pick. I don't mind Shea Theodore, but to your point as well, like that, I think Noah Hannafin could be the number 1 power play guy this year.
Yeah.
So I like Letang in the sense of this guy will get you block shots. He's going to hit. He's going to he does everything.
Yeah. And as much as I like Lane Hudson and I'm super excited about him as a Habs guy, he's very impressive. I'm already extremely impressed with him. And I watched the last couple of years in college is the poise with the puck, the patience. This guy will straddle the line. He does not give a shit. And I love that. But I just don't think he can do what, he's not going to do what Letang, right? Letang's going to touch a lot of those other categories and he's still going to be involved. And what do you make of the Penguins power play last year? How does it get better this year?
Well, they fired the coach, the power play coach, Todd Reardon, for starting. Yeah, for me, it was I don't want to shoot the puck. None of them wanted to shoot the puck, and Carlson even is like the dude's coming off a 25-goal season, wasn't it, the year before? He just did not want to shoot the puck. They were always looking for the one-timers, and so I'm thinking that's kind of what they need to do. It looks like in preseason here, they're still running the umbrella, and that hasn't changed all that much. But they're also scoring on the power play in the preseason. Probably take that with a grain of salt, but
it's nice that it's nice to have that start, though, right? You start feeling a little bit better. It's like, here we go again. We can't score on the power play. It should be. I expect it to be better personally. Like, how could it not be with all those players? Like, they're gonna.
Yeah, they brought in Quinn to kind of help with that, and Carlson playing for Quinn in San Jose, where he ran the power play and stuff, I think will be very beneficial. Now, Carlson hasn't been skating with the team. He's been day to day to start the season, but he'll take over as the number 1 power play when he does come back. But yeah, overall, look, I'm the most biased Penguins fan in the world, so I'm always going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I think they will be better than they'll start better than they started last season, because they finished the season pretty damn good, actually.
Man, they would have made the playoffs if they had Gensel.
Yeah. Hey, for what it's worth, that trade is looking pretty damn good when all said and done.
Yeah, for sure. Pittsburgh. Yeah, no doubt. I agree. It's tough to let him go, and I'm sure it killed Crosby, but you got to you have to do those things. Okay, so 5 more picks here. I like this build, man. We got some different pieces too. Like I said, I don't usually go too heavy on the defenseman in the top, but we did that, and I like it. Getting Letang as the third, so I feel like the decor is strong here with Dahlin, Hedman, and Letang. Our centers are Wyatt Johnson, Elias Lindholm, and Dylan Cousins. I don't think I picked Lindholm once, but it makes a lot of sense for what we've been doing here with Pasternak and Marchand. We have Jake Gensel, Verhaeghe, Natchez, and Skinner. We got some shooters, man. We have dudes that can fill the back of the net, get us a couple of hatties, have those spike weeks. So we thinking about one more winger here.
The 3-7-3-3 build. That's the go-to.
That's the build. So we have Marchenko, Kraus, Stone. I won't allow you to tell me to pick them. No. Landeskog, and we were just talking about Landeskog. Of course, could be a difference maker, but we got Lekin in here who's hurt. Terry, Nick Schmaltz had a good season. Shot the puck a little bit more than I thought.
Just took Schmaltz in a draft last night, actually.
Did you?
Yeah. So this is where I like to reach a little bit, especially right. We're talking the last pick, so obviously we're reaching. But Taylor Hall, could we see a bounce back from him? Like things like that. I try to just kind of put in perspective. Like, would anybody be shocked if Taylor Hall scored 25, 30 goals this year?
That's what I was expecting last year. I'm like, man, this guy may score 35. He's going to have well over 200 shots. He's going to be an absolute stud. And unfortunately, the injury. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with taking Hall here if you
Yeah,
want
I like
him to go.
Schmaltz or Hall there, to be honest with you. Marchenko's not a bad play either. Actually had him on one of the teams that made it to the finals last year. You're talking about another pure shooter who can score goals, but there you go. So that
Yeah.
kind of makes our life a little easier. But yeah, I like Hall or Schmaltz, to be honest with you. And I've taken a little Troy Terry too.
I've taken a little Terry. I haven't taken to anybody really down this far.
This is where it gets to the nitty gritty. I mean,
Forrester's interesting. We'll roll with Hall. Yeah, like I see Kraus, he throws his body around, but I'm not super into him. Stone's gonna miss time. That's what we talked about, right? With Vegas, one injury away. Eichel's so important to them. I did one draft where I wrapped it up with Zegras and Terry, and I'm like, hey, this could be fun. It could be fun
yeah,
for a couple weeks, and until one of them is on the sidelines or hurt. But Terry and Zegras, those guys, I think Zegras probably already went, but those guys go, real late in
towards
the
the
last
back
game.
end.
Yeah, you're going to see some decent players here not taken.
Yeah, Mason McTavish even. I mean, we're talking about,
Yeah.
two guys who are going to play in that, even Leo Carlson. Those guys are going to play in that top six. Now, again, there's some question marks with teams like that. Whereas we're talking, again, high risk, high reward type of pick, but that's why they fall this late anyway. So trying to make unique builds. Someone took Patrick Laine there, and he's not even going to play in the first 2-3 months of the season.
I would never do that. You know what I mean? Like I understand maybe, in 2 months you're like, oh great, he's going to be good to go, and I see the upside, but I don't know, man. I just cross those guys off my list. I don't like. I'm fine without Line. I'm bummed for him. I was excited for him. I know he was excited for a fresh start. Actually, broke my heart listening to St. Louis talk about it. It killed him. I don't know if you saw it. He was talking about just like, this is year 3 now. He's trying to build like the culture and a family, and he was saying how proud he was of like everybody in the organization and the team just like welcoming Line and like just joking with them and all these guys. And the first couple of days he's not saying anything, and then like 3 or 4 days later he's just like wouldn't shut up, wouldn't stop talking, like a kid again. Yeah, and that's what St. Louis was talking. So he said he was proud of like just the culture that he's building, but super bummed for Line, but he'll be back. But yeah, I just don't draft guys like that. All right, so what do you make of the squad here, man? Let's give it a grade.
Yeah, I think love the wingers, defense, and goalies. I think center is probably where we're asking a little bit out of our guys. But if we can truly get a 90-point season out of someone like Wyatt Johnston, then that could be a difference maker, right? But that's why I love taking one of those top 3 picks, because if you can go McDavid, McKinnon, or Matthews to start the draft, it's like, okay, I'm good at center.
You don't need to touch it again until like round 10. You can get involved with somebody again in round 10, or you can just wait for your last like pick or two to hammer home. I love it too. I just feel like my builds, I'm actually more aggressive getting goalies because I can get one of Shesterkin or Saros if I wanted to go with, one of those stud centers and then just hammer winger. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's kind of my thinking too. I mean, you go one of those 3 to start, and then you finish it off with a Scheifele Cousins in the very late rounds. It's like, man, your top 3 centers, you're looking at Matthew, Scheifele, and Cousins. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I agree. I think we're probably a little thin in center, but if Lindholm does bounce back, like we know that he can, like he could be a 20-25 goal scorer. He could certainly get to the 50-point mark playing with Pasta, being on that first power play.
Yeah.
Let's not look too much into last year. It was, a bad Calgary team, and he just didn't fit into Vancouver. I thought he was actually one of their better players in the playoffs.
Great.
But there was, he was playing.
They wanted him to be on the wing, and that just wasn't going to work.
Right.
You try to play him with Pedersen, then you try to play him with Miller. It's like, this guy's a natural center, and some guys just are natural centers. There's no way around that. So I think him getting back here, I mean, it aren't him and Pasta and Zaka together. So I mean,
that's pretty
familiar.
Strong. Yeah, that's pretty strong. So we got Pasta here. We know what his upside is like. Big time shooter. Gensel as well. You're well aware of his upside in Tampa. We got Verhaeghe as another shooter. I think there's another level to Necas's game. We've yet to see it. Maybe this will be it, right on the bridge deal. A couple things to prove.
Kind of showed it a little bit early last season.
Yeah, and I thought
cooled off towards the end.
Yeah, like and 2 years ago, he had such a good finish, I thought, where it's like, okay, like this is the season. Again, yet to put it all together. I think there really is a little bit more to his game, and it may happen this year with they're pretty thin.
They talk
Is it
about
Brendan
him.
Moore lean on him a little bit more?
Well, and that's what I think they'll have to is, play a couple more minutes, take a few more shots. You're up on the number one power play probably all year long. There's no bounce into that number two power play. I don't see anybody else in that bottom six making a push to get up there. So I know when they people talk about, you listen to players talk about their teammates and man, you don't see it, but this guy's ultra talented. It's Martin Necas who they talk about in Carolina like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Brad Marchand there, Jeff Skinner, as we both agree that he still has a very high ceiling. See, I don't know how much PP1 time he'll get. Injury would probably need to happen, but playing 5-5, like you said, with McDavid or with Draisaitl, like my goodness, right? He should, he could score 40, and I wouldn't be shocked, man. Like I
No.
would not be shocked if he could play 72 games. He could be healthy for them. He's going to score 30
Yes.
with those power forwards. Taylor Hall, with our last pick there, trying to shoot for upside. Once upon a time, an MVP, a
Hmm.
volume shooter, and he could score as well. So I'd like to see him healthy and see what he could do with Bedard. I know he's not penciled in to play with Bedard. I think they got Teravainen and Bertuzzi there, but that's
They do.
certainly something that could happen. Darlene, Hedman, and Chris Letang on the blue line. We got
We love that.
horses. We got horses. Yeah, we really do love that. There's power play time with all of those guys, top units for sure, and Darlene and Hedman, and they could roll Letang and Carlson on that unit. Markstrom, Mrazek, and then Logan Thompson. There's some upside there with Logan Thompson. I'm a big Logan Thompson fan, man. A couple of years ago, I was rooting for him to be the guy in Vegas. So now in Washington, I think they're a little bit better too. Say what you want about Pierre-Luc Dubois, but he should go back to his Winnipeg days of like at least playing 19, 20 minutes a night, shooting the puck, throwing his body around, buried in LA, wasn't even getting top power play time there. I don't think they have him penciled in on the PP1. I think they got him and Mangiapane, but Oshie's already hurt long term, poor guy. But we could see PLD maybe get a little bit of power play time. Just the team overall, I think the addition of Chikrin, Carlson stays healthy, it could be a little bit better. I do like your
And
Pens
Matt
more than
Roy.
Washington. That's right. Matt Roy is
Yeah.
another good addition that they had on the blue line. They quietly made some decent moves.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was probably the one team that I thought when I was looking through every roster here earlier today. We talked about Carolina stuck out to me as, man, things don't look great. Colorado stuck out to me as that bottom nine. They need Nichushkin. They need Landeskog back. But Washington was one team that stuck out to me because we're talking about looking at their top three centers of Strome, Dubois, and that Hendrix Pierre played pretty well towards
He
the end
did.
of last year. And now you bring in Chikrin and Roy. Your top pair is Carlson and Chikrin. Then you go Faravari and Roy. That's a solid top four as well. So as much as it pains me as a Penguins fan, that Washington team might surprise. I mean, they made the playoffs last year, but then just got mopped in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think it could be a little different this year.
Yeah, and it may be because they're a little bit more depth, but it's the blue line to me. It's the blue
Agreed.
line that makes them that will if they get to the playoffs, they'll probably get mopped again. Like the goal differential won't be. They're not going to be a juggernaut on offense. They can only get so much from Ovechkin at this point. Lee's in the house. Go Sharks. Yo,
Go
Lee.
Sharks.
You just missed out, man. We were gushing over the Sharks. I think you're in for a fun year. I think you're in for a fun year with some of the kids. You get to see Celebrini and Will Smith. Our graphics guy's a big Sharks guy too. He was talking to me about Celebrini. So yeah, I mean the Sharks got some talent up front. I've been getting some Wallman in drafts, not so much in this format, but in a league with like hits and blocks, more so blocks. He may just block 300 shots this year.
Yeah.
So he might add there. But on the way out, dude, anything you want to add? Any players we didn't get that you like? Some shares? You talked about the build already. And why don't you promote yourself, man? You're doing a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I think, when you go into these things here, we talked about it. You obviously don't get to pick where you get to draft. Top three is great. But if you can't get there, you are looking for shooters. You're looking for hitters. You're looking for well-rounded guys who can kind of get you points in every aspect. Don't reach to stack, but if it falls to you like it did with the Bruins here today, there are, things that make sense when it comes to that. But the 3-7-3-3 build, just that's what I'm leaving essentially every single draft with. So if you're new to Best Puck here, kind of doing it your first time, the 3-7-3-3 build like Meaney and I just did is the route to go. As far as plugging myself, look, you can find me on Twitter here, GriffDoggDFS. Got my tag under my name right there. Do run a Discord as well. You'll see me active in the FTN Discord. So follow me on Twitter. I'm putting all my stuff out there. Got a YouTube channel as well, SlyDogDFS and Bets, where I'll be breaking down not only NFL content, but my favorite bread and butter, the NHL content. So we're just a week away, means I'm more than ready.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you taking the time here. You're one of my faves. I'm so glad that Mayo somehow linked us up and we were able to do some shows together and whatnot. And here we are. We're live drafting and talking fantasy hockey. I love it. So yeah, make sure you give Griff a follow on the Twitter machine. Check out all the work. Subscribe to his YouTube page, and I'm gonna bug him again to come on. Talk some hockey. Do some dangle bat selly. We'll talk some picks. We'll talk some shot props. And of course, you're killing it in the DFS circle as well. So really do appreciate it. Again, give them a follow, GriffDoggDFS. Appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out as well. A friendly reminder, the Fantasy Hockey Draft Kit. If you've hung on this long, you're definitely a hardcore hockey fan. The Draft Kit is live over at FTN Fantasy, some rankings and some stuff, and we'll be with you throughout the entire season, helping out the season-long people with some waiver wire stuff, and we'll go streaming. We'll go digging deep for some streams and try to help you win that championship, because flags fly forever. Griff Dog, peace, brother. Love you, bud. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys, for taking time to hang out. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
See ya.